Okay, today we are checking out the Univox U-1226 lead. It is a 60-watt amp, and it's pretty interesting. It's kind of a bit of a sleeper amp in my opinion. Kind of a Marshall, kind of a Fender thing, kind of its own thing at the same time. Some interesting history on this amp if you want to hear it. Univox at the time was, I think, owned, or their parent company was Unicord, which was a transformer manufacturer, but they were also the main importer for Marshall amps to America. And at the time, almost all the Marshall amps that came over were blowing up and yada yada. The EL34s just weren't kind of working on the American voltage. So being a transformer manufacturer, they put in a different output transformer and then put 6550 tubes in those Marshalls. So if you ever see an old Marshall that has 6550s, it's because they were imported and they weren't working on the voltage, and Unicord basically updated them or upgraded them, whatever, to make sure that they worked on the American voltage. And then after doing that for like 2 or 3 years, the head designer at the company basically was told, hey, why don't we make our own amp to compete with Marshall? Like, why not? So if you know the history of Marshall, you know that the original amps were basically Fender Bassmans, and then they kind of were made with American parts, and the circuit kind of upgraded and updated over the years. And then in the 70s, basically Unicord tried to make a Marshall, but with American parts and a few extra kind of features on it, essentially. At potentially a lower price point, I don't know. But yeah, very, very cool amps. It's got the same kind of layout as a Fender Bassman / Marshall. It's got a bright input, channel 1, and a darker input, which is channel 2, basic 4-band EQ. Unlike a Marshall or Fender Bassman circuit, the top 2 are for channel 1 and the bottom 2 are for channel 2, where on a Marshall or Bassman it would be the left and the right. On this one you have a bright input and then a normal input, which is kind of padded down, I think, for channel 1, and then a high input and a low input for channel 2. This amp also has reverb, and the reason I think you don't see a lot of these kind of amps, like Marshall style amps with reverb, is because they kind of pad down the amp and do some weird stuff to the circuit. But I think they're doing something interesting on this one. I think they're like sending it like maybe parallel off the input. Like the back has like a drive knob or drive adjust for the reverb tank, and you can also kind of almost get it to feedback if you really crank it up there. But I don't think anyone would actually really ever use it like that. It also has a really good tremolo sound. This also has the original tubes in it, which I can't remember the brand of them right off the bat. But yeah, when my tech was looking it over, he also said that he thinks you probably get a better reverb tank for it. But I think it sounds pretty good as is. Another interesting thing is that this has a pull bright switch on the input 1, which essentially just makes the treble frequencies full volume. So you don't notice it when the knob is full up, but if you have it kind of down, it gets really loud and aggressive and harsh when you pull that out. But you can also do the Marshall thing where you blend it in with the dark normal channel like that, and it works really, really well. So I've got some pedals in front of me, and I'm playing a Les Paul into a Marshall 4x12 with Greenbacks. I'm going to do another demo of this with a Telecaster into the original cab, because I think this amp works a bit better with single coils. It kind of this guitar has kind of like high output humbuckers, but it's just the guitar I use for all the demos just to kind of keep the consistency. So yeah, check out that other one. I've got some pedals here in front of me. I've got a Fairfield Fuzz, Maxon Tube Screamer, MXR Distortion Plus, MXR Submachine, Big Muff, Ram's Head, Neoclone, MXR Carbon Copy. So let's check this out. I'm going to start on some clean tones, and we'll kind of get into some more grungy tones after that. Here we go. Check it out.